Hi everyone, welcome back to the Anand studio. Today we have a very special guest again, Mr. Karan Verma, who is a well-known author. He is again a political analyst, and you can see him. You might be seeing him already in a lot of TV channels. Okay, during the prime time. Let's go ahead and jump straight into the discussion with him. Thanks, Karanji, for joining. Thanks for your time.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, and you're doing a great job. I was keeping an eye on your channel, on your articles, and I just found a connect, and that's why when you asked me, I said I have to do this.
Thank you. Thanks so much. So nice of you. Let's go to the first one. All this political alliance against Mr. Modi. All right. Today, Mr. Nitish Kumar is going around trying to connect with a lot of leaders. Let's talk about that a bit, your perspective on that, whether that's going to really click. And then we'll go ahead into the other leaders that were in the fray earlier. Okay. Over to you. What do you think about that?
Anand, I have been a political analyst, and I've also helped political parties and candidates in forging election strategies and how they should go about amongst people. The number one thing which doesn't click ever is when you have an alliance of convenience.
Right.
It never clicks. Hardly ever will you find instances where alliances of convenience, because then your intention is clear that actually you don't have the glue of ideology. You are just trying to somehow muster power. Look what happened with the Mahavikas Agadi. It was doomed for disaster. Yes, it lasted a year and a half, whatever it lasted. But in the end, the wheels have to come off on such alliances, because until and unless there's not a natural fit, why did BJP and Shiv Sena last as long as they lasted before they fell apart? Because there was this ideological commonality of Hindutva. So today, Mr. Modi is in the ace position. That's an understatement to say that he's in an ace position. And the rest are all anti-Modi. Till one of them comes up with a plan that, okay, listen, here is an alternative. This is what we are going to do. And then people can be like, okay, hang on, there's some material there. There's some merit there. And there's a degree of honesty, because this guy is not aligning with those out of just convenience, but because there is some commonality. Then things might fall in place for the opposition. I'll give you an example. Arvind Kejriwal, he's raised some good points. From a political strategy point, I'm not talking about how honest he is or how dishonest. Purely clinically, as a political strategy, he's tried to make the discussion about schools, about education. Let's make India number one country in the world. Why are we not number one after 75 years? These are good questions. He's smart, he's very smart. He is one of the smartest political communicators. I've always said that time and again. Let's learn whatever we can from a person, irrespective of how honest or how credible he is. But where does he lag behind? He doesn't have a nationwide appeal.
Yeah.
And if he starts forging alliances with Lalus and Nitishs of the world, then people know that he's a phony act. So that is where he's lagging. So someone has a good message, like Kejriwal, he has a good message. Someone can stitch alliances like Mr. Sharad Pawar. He's a master manipulator, absolute master of Indian politics as far as stitching alliances is concerned.
Better than that too.
Yeah. But he doesn't have a message. So they're all very itsy bitsy and in patches. So I think the opposition is in a complete disarray. And you know what? We saw a great live demonstration of that during the presidential elections. None of them could actually come up with a candidate, and all of them did not even come up to vote for their candidate. There was cross voting happening when Draupadi Murmu became the president. So I have very little expectations from the opposition. I don't think they'll be able to put up a candidate, to be honest.
Agree. So I had the same impression too, because people have tried that. So even Mamata Banerjee tried doing something. So what do you think about that? I don't hear much from her nowadays. Why is that?
So Mamata Didi, actually, she was overjoyed after her victory in Bengal when in 2021, last year, she defeated everyone, and it was a handsome victory. No two thoughts about that. And at that time, she and Prashant Kishore, that's what I hear, they were actually planning a nationwide campaign and building a narrative around Mamata Didi, that she's going to be taking on Modi just the way she took him on in Bengal. But Unfortunately for them, their understanding also took a beating. Mamata Banerjee is no longer as such with Prashant Kishore. Prashant Kishore also started searching for greener pastures. He went to the Congress and he was very close to signing a very big deal with Congress and also becoming a senior executive in the Congress working committee. But that too fell apart. So, they have not been able to get along because of their ambitions also. All of them are pretty ambitious. Mamta Di is very ambitious. Kejriwal is very, very ambitious. KCR is also nurturing ambitions down south.
Absolutely.
And none of them are able to, as such, get along. You know, that film, Main Huna, Main Bhi Huna. So that is what is going on between
Absolutely.
all of them. And Rahul Gandhi, this Bharat Jodo Yatra, the other day, I was on a
Yeah.
debate. And the main reason for showing Bharat Jodo is actually he's trying to send out a message to the opposition that we are the only party from Kanyakumari till Kashmir.
Okay.
That's why he's trying to establish that you guys have to, in the end, coalesce around me because I am the only national alternative to Modi. So there's a lot of infighting, a lot of bruised egos, inflated egos. So I don't think they'll sustain the distance. That's what I feel.
Yeah, but see, the point is, first thing, you have to have a narrative, a
Yes,
strong
yes.
narrative. Today, I don't think the opposition has any strong narrative
True.
against Mr. Modi. And I think we are struggling with it. How to really go to the public with what? Right? I think that's one big issue which is paralyzing them.
I'll also say one thing. At the state level, many of them have succeeded in putting across that narrative. Like Mamta Di, in the Bengal elections, she had a very strong narrative. Very, very strong narrative about Bengal, about Bengal's pride. Similarly, Kejriwal had a very strong message, which was Delhi centric.
Yeah.
That we are going to come up with schools. He's trying to extrapolate that. That's why I say he has the most credible message, which is scalable. Mamta Di played on regional pride. Regional pride is never scalable because it is confined to the region, right? Kejriwal promising school, education, healthcare is something that hits us universally. But he doesn't have that scale. But he's still the best bet. If you have to put your money on someone in the coming years, say 10 years from now, 15 years from now, it'll be up right now, provided they don't get embroiled in too many scams and power doesn't go to their head, which seems likely right now, if you ask me.
Yeah, so see, if you look at the credibility aspect, who is the credible face today in the opposition? Who is the credible one? Pan India. Okay, nobody. I don't see anybody pan India who has got the credibility. Nitish Kumar has got this clean image, which is good. But when it comes to dependability, he has moved sides quite a lot. Ideology seems to be quite missing. And based on just my personal opinion, post 2024, I think his political future will be kind of in doldrums. I'm not sure because I'm saying after
Right
2024,
now,
yeah.
I mean, it's hysterical what he's done. I
Yeah.
mean, I was on a debate. We were discussing that barely had he divorced the last one, and he was sitting on the pandal, ready to tie the knot, that he jumped from there and tied a knot back with the ex. So this man has been switching sides like there's no tomorrow. So when you do that, you lose all credibility, Anand. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you this: he has not been the single largest party even in Bihar for quite some time now. Lalu's party, RJD, was the largest party in 2015 when he forged an alliance. This time around, it was a BJP. So this one is a master manipulator at, forging alliances. So he has very little political capital even in Bihar. And I think the next election in Bihar is going to be pretty much the obituary of Mr. Nitish Kumar as far as his political life in Bihar is concerned. So I don't see a future for him at the national level for sure.
Yeah. So even Mamata Banerjee, I'm not sure how her next assembly election would be because people have seen quite a lot of things happening. So she might get a beating in West Bengal even in the next assembly election. So not sure whether she can become a pan-India face. At least for 2024, I don't see that happening.
I don't think she'll get a beating in Bengal that easily. I think she's very, very strong in Bengal. I have to give it to her. There are two front runners right now who I don't think they'll have a national standing, but nevertheless, there are two people. One is Kejriwal in Delhi, The other is Mamta in Bengal.
Hmm.
They are very, very closely connected with the voters. They work very hard at the ground level. Let's give credit where it's due.
Yeah,
And they have
absolutely.
kept their people together. Today, I can talk about Delhi. Uh, in Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal has his volunteers, has his organizational strength in every road, every street, every nook and corner of Delhi.
Okay.
So, and he keeps them together. He's working very, very hard. He keeps his eye on the ball as far as that is concerned. Till now. Now, if he starts trying to spread nationally and he spreads himself too thin, I don't know. But till now, he's kept his chickens together. Similarly with Mamta. Mamta has also maintained a fist, an iron fist on her party. Unlike Nitish Kumar or other people who've let it go with as time has passed by, they've let it go. And they're very clear, both Arvind Kejriwal and Mamta Banerjee, that we alone have to go in here. We don't have to take any nonsense. We have to be the sole biggest party here. And people have accepted them here. They've won by handsome victories time and again. So I don't see these two states slipping out of their grip even in the next elections, though it's too early to talk about it right now. But I don't think they'll be able to catapult that to the national level.
And that is the point. So 2024, I think it's
Hmm.
sealed.
I think it's
Right?
in the bag. It's in the bag. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't see anything. And don't forget Mr. Stalin down
Hmm.
south further,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he is also claiming as kind of a PM candidate, because these things come up. The party men start talking about this and all, that he's going to be a great PM and this and that. So
Hmm.
he also probably is having these aspirations. All
Hmm.
right. And even on the Telangana side, KCR seems to be really
Yes, yeah.
interested in this.
Also. Yeah.
Have you seen the press conference between
Yes, 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 yes.
he
I saw
getting
that.
up, Nitish Kumar getting up,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
he's pulling him down?
So
And
that's
so,
that's political musical chairs at its best. They take a step, then he pushes him.
oh
So
God.
that's happening right now. I don't think much will come out of it because people still believe that what happened in the 90s can happen. Uh,
Hmm.
90s sprung up quite a surprise when
Hmm.
H.D. Devegowda became the prime minister, I.K. Gujral became the prime minister. But those days are passé. They're gone. Today, the mandates are very clear. If you just
Yeah,
observe the pattern, people are very decisive in their mandates. They give clear majorities mostly. And they're
absolutely.
so clear that in a state like Delhi, they will give 7 out of 7 seats to BJP in the Lok Sabha elections. And they'll give a thumping majority to Kejriwal in the assembly elections because they're clear in their mind
Yeah.
that this is where we want to see a PM and this is where we want to see a CM. So I think this is the era of decisive mandates. I
Hmm.
don't see a Stalin or a KCR spring up a surprise. So I don't see that, to be honest.
Right. So the talk about these so-called scams in Delhi, right?
Hmm.
Be the liquor
Right,
one and all that.
right.
Don't you think that will dent his performance next time
In Delhi, you're talking?
in Delhi? In Delhi.
In Delhi, I think he's very good at his marketing,
Okay.
Kejriwal. He'll cover them up. He'll gloss over all of them. I think he's
Hmm.
very good. His propaganda machine and the way he plays victim, the way he acts innocent, that is exemplary. I mean, that is so good that it gives theater artists a run for money, if you ask me. So,
Agree.
I mean, just yesterday, 2 days back. So, this
Uh,
is a clear scam. I've been coming on a lot of channels on these
right.
two topics, and I understand these two cases. So, this is clear corruption. There is clear
Hmm.
corruption. Now, who's done it? That remains to be seen, but there is clearly a set pattern of irregularities that has happened. Now, I'll give you an example, Anand. He has counted, AAP has counted toilets as classrooms just to fulfill their quota of number of classrooms. They had to make some 5,800 classrooms. They
Wow.
made only 4,000. And then what they did, while counting them, they counted the toilets also as classrooms, very conveniently.
Hmm.
So now, when this was raised, I'll tell you how communication makes a difference. Now, when this was raised, Kejriwal, just 2 days back, he said, बताइए मैं टॉयलेट ना बनाऊं क्या? बच्चों को टॉयलेट नहीं जाएंगे, इन लोगों के घर में अटैच बाथरूम होंगे, हमारे बच्चे टॉयलेट नहीं करेंगे क्लास के पास बगल में, मैं बनाऊंगा. So now people are thinking emotively. I was seeing the comments when this was going on, this live thing. People were saying, how dare
Okay.
you? We should make class toilets. Even my daughter is suffering. There should be toilets in the near the classroom in the school. Hang on. Nobody said don't make classrooms, but don't count them as classrooms. So people
Exactly.
don't have the patience to understand the intricacies. And that is where these politicians score a home run. They know they have very little attention span, and not everyone is like Anand or Karan who are going to get to the root of the matter. And we are going to get away with whataboutery and theatrics. So
Yep.
that is what politics has come down to, unfortunately. And that's why I think AAP is going to somehow manage to gloss over it by the time the next assembly elections come by.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. So 2024 is a done deal, looks like. Okay,
That's
unless
what it seems.
some miracle happens.